Good morning, hello. Good morning, no, good afternoon, hello. I forgot what time of the day it is. I guess that's what happens when you look at controls and research and figure how long big certification things take. But okay, let's continue with our .env, our environment variable lesson. Okay, so what we got here? Compile time. So when we use the in order to bring the environment variables in at compile time, so I think there's a .env macros. Yep, there it is. .env macro. Not exactly what I wanted. I wanted that. what's it called to open up a to investigate in inspect. Good afternoon, Unreal. Thank you for letting me know about the accidental preview for all the articles. I think I fixed that. I ran a command in the database to set everything in the courses to be not preview anymore. So they should be good, and you still should have access. Yeah, it's it is yeah. It when I add a course and hit save, when I add an article to a course and hit save, it deletes all the course articles, and the course articles is where it basically enshrines what that it's preview or not. So what I've apparently forgotten to do is set it that way when I hit save, it like keeps the old version of preview. And apparently I just don't care and just like set it to the default every single time. So that's something that's probably the next function we'll work on is the ability to inspect that and make sure that it keeps the previous settings for it. Yeah, it's I remember I saw like it was confusing to me the first time I was doing it on like the first course that I was creating. I was like, every time I added it in, I was like, why do I need to do this every single time? It's like, oh right, because I'm silly. That's why. So it's not the best pattern that I've done. It's fast, because it all runs inside of a single Postgres transaction, so it's super fast. But I do have to like be careful, and apparently I'm not careful. All right, so we have you non-sensitive value. That's what we want. Okay. I was really hoping to like get my tablet to like lean up against the bottom of the monitor, but it's just the wrong angle and it fell. Sorry about that. I should get a little thing to like lean it up against. That'd be nice. But okay. All right. So let's put the code in here. So we have you running. I need to. Oh, apparently I forgot to even finish this out. So .env. Oh, right, because you don't exist at all. We'll fix that. Okay, so we got that. Let's add you in. Okay, conclusion. Okay, store sensitive data and environment variables and bring them in at runtime. Bring them in at runtime using the .env crate. Here is the code. Okay. We are good to go there. Let's review this. Handling, let's just change this to handling environment variables. Environment variables in Rust. We often need secure values in our application, such as passwords. Hard coding these are not a good idea, so we need a way to grab them from a file at development time. And runtime. Objectives. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to describe why we want to keep sensitive data out of our code, describe why environment variables are a great way to expose sensitive data to our code, use .env to load environment variables from a file, load environment variables at compile time, load environment variables at runtime. I kind of do like, so tell me Unreal, do you like the, this is like not something that's probably important. Most people probably don't care. Do you like having like a content where I have like something like this, where it's like content and then everything else is added in like that, or just go straight into it without like a title of like, hey, now there's the content? I don't actually know if it matters. Like looking at content and then the rest kind of like looks weird to me, but I could also see that it's nice. That it's like, okay, the previous is like, that was like a header. It's where like metadata is. It's data about the lesson, but it's not the lesson itself. Now here's where like the actual meat of the stuff is. For longer articles, I'd probably prefer content. For something this size, I think is fine how it is. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep it in just to try to be consistent then. Although I don't think I'm like super consistent right now, but eventually I'm going to make it. I also need the ability to edit articles online and like see a preview, and then I can like, then I could probably start. I can like make little changes to it pretty easily. All right, content. Why not hard code sensitive data? Our code often needs access to sensitive data like passwords and keys in order to connect to databases, APIs, and other services. Without these, our code can't talk to other systems and won't be able to do anything worthwhile. It's very easy to hard code the passwords and tokens. However, this leads to a couple of problems. Okay. What if we have multiple databases for different environments? as in a database on the dev's computer while developing a feature, a dev database for testing. Let's do a comma here. And validating the applications. A dev database for testing. Oh, I see. A dev database for testing. Let's do / validating the applications and production. If we hard-coded these values, we'd have to detect what branch we're on to choose which key to use, or manually switch which key to use in the code. None of these are a good idea for several reasons. What if a developer forgets to update the key and then runs test code against the production database? Like, I wish that was a joke, but people have done it. And deleted the database or overwrote it with crap data. Another reason to keep secure data out of the code is to protect the secrets from hackers. What if somebody got access to the GitHub repository and saw the production database URI and key? Like, happens all the time. They would be able to download all the data at their convenience. Making the repos private is not a valid answer. There have been vulnerabilities in the past that expose the private repo code to attackers. I mean, it happens like almost every year. Almost every month, probably there's somebody who gets access that they shouldn't have. And that's through like not GitHub having a vulnerability, but just like somebody getting access to the key. The answer is to use environment variables. Why use environment variables? When we deploy in a service like AWS or Azure, we can set up environment variables using their secure services. These inject the values into the servers when they boot, so our code can read them, but they aren't stored in a file. This also allows us to have a different value per server, so we can have the production keys for the production deployment, dev keys for the dev deployment, and so on. Locally, we'll need to set environment variables to local services. There are a couple ways we can do this. Loading environment variables locally. We have a few options for setting environment variables in our environment. For example, on a Unix-like system, we can set an environment variable in our bash CSA shell RC file, manually create the environment variable, add the environment variables to our terminal emulator, add the environment variables to a window manager like Tmux, create a .env file in the root of the project, and use a crate to load it. While all these methods are viable, we recommend and will be focusing in this lesson on using the .env file to load sensitive data. This way, the other files can be shared with colleagues or even on GitHub, and the .env file can be added to a global .gitignore file so it can't accidentally be pushed into the repo. Which I think right now in my just because oh yeah, and I think who was it that was suggesting we should add in a section for the .env example. We should not forget that. .env. Oh, it was you. Okay. I thought it was you, but I didn't want to like assume that. The .env file is as simple as it sounds, a file named .env in the root directory of the project. This file will hold key value pairs. So we got that. There are a couple things to consider here. We don't need the export command like normal shell environment variables. We don't need quotes. Spaces aren't supported. Variables are all uppercased. Comments are loud and begin with pound. .env. To load the content of the .env file into the environment variables, we're going to use the .env crate. Note the .env rather than .env. There is a .env crate, but it has been abandoned for a long time, and it is not recommended. To install .env in a Rust project, run the command cargo add .env. Okay, so we add that. While there are two features that we can use, we generally don't need them unless you're building an app using the clap. I think it's like the clap binary. Why are you yelling at me about that? Remind me later. No. Wait a second. Okay, so this was 2 days ago. Clap B3 was 4 years ago. Okay, we want this one. Rust Analyzer has the ability to tell us when we need to enable a feature in order to use a function or module, so we don't need to enable these features unless Rust Analyzer tells us. After installing .env, we'll need to run it so it can find the .env file and load the contents into the environment. It's recommended to do this at the top of the main function or the entry point for your code. Okay, so here we go. Note that we're converting the result from the .env to an option using the .ok method. This will prevent the code from erroring out if we don't have a .env file present. Since some deployments won't use a .env file, it's important to understand how the code will be deployed when choosing how to handle this result. Okay, so let's do as 5 because it's a sub for this. Loading environment variables. We have two choices for when to load environment variables. Ooh, I think there's a 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, runtime. These environment variables will be loaded when the binary is executed. We can use the standard library's standard mvar function to load these variables. Rust Analyzer will not check that the variable exists since we aren't checking until the code executes. That means we have to handle the case that the environment variable doesn't exist. Compile time. All right, and this is 4, right? In order to bring the environment variables in at compile time, we'll need to use the .env macro crate. This crate will provide the .env macro, which works exactly the same as the env macro the standard library provides, but will grab values from the .env file instead. If you only need to use environment variables at compile time, then you don't even need to run the .env function. Okay. Let's get rid of that. The benefits of this approach are that Rust Analyzer will inform us when we don't have an environment variable set up. The negatives are that the value is now in the binary. It is fairly trivial to inspect a binary and find hard-coded secrets. Therefore, it is not recommended to use this macro unless it is a non-sensitive value. Conclusion. So let's add one more section here. So this would be maybe we'll just do like .env example. Since we are putting the .env file in the cargo, no, .getignore file, it can be a pain to onboard new users to programs because they don't know what keys and values to put into the .env. The answer to this is to create a .env example file. The easiest way The easiest way to create this is to copy the .env file and replace all the values with basically a descriptor with like example values that aren't real. I guess it would be like .sh again. So that one is fine. Database URL, we want that to be, this would be like username. Okay, so there we have that. I don't think I need to put, so let's see, easiest way to create, just copy the email and replace all the, okay, so, I have to run for the evening. Awesome. Yeah, no, this is pretty good. Thanks for recommending it. Database URL is being set to something that doesn't work, however, so the devs need to set it manually. Okay, so we're good to go there, and then finally. Conclusions: store sensitive data in environment variables and bring them in at runtime using a .env crate. Then create a .env example file to help new devs onboard onto the project, but don't forget to sanitize before pushing to GitHub or whatever code repository you're using. Okay, there we go. Let's review this. .env example. Since we're putting the .env file in the .ignore file, so since we're ignoring the since we're ignoring how about this? Since we're ignoring the .env file, it can be a pain to onboard new users to programs to the program because they don't know what keys and values to put into the .env. How about they don't know what environment variables? to set? The answer to this is to create a .env .env example file. The easiest way to create this is to copy the .env file and replace all the values with example values that aren't real. There. In this case, the env variable is insensitive, and we want the local developers to use it, so we'll keep it as the default. The database URL is being set to something that doesn't work, however, so the devs will need to set it manually. Conclusion. Storing sensitive data environment variables and bringing them in at runtime using the .env crate. So wait, no, never mind. Store sensitive data in environment variables and bring them in at runtime using it. I want to change it around. Store sensitive data in environment variables and bring and use the .env crate to bring them in at runtime. Then create a .env example file to help new devs onboard onto the project, but don't forget to sanitize before pushing to GitHub or whatever code repository you're using. Here's the full code from above. So we have that. There we go. So thank you, Unreal Realities 1387 for suggesting this this lesson. Okay, so let's run a spell check over this. Okay, why not hard code? Let's do 0. Ooh, that should be against. Wow, it doesn't know what to do with that one. Well, you're a new word now. Oh yeah, you got that. All right, you're now a full name in my spelling too. Okay, cool. So that's done for that. So let's see what's next. Recording. Now we're gonna record. Okay, so we got that. Oh, I can probably remove the target. Oh, and let's not forget dot get ignore. We're gonna remove you. I think we're good now. We can remove just in case. Okay, so you should be good. Okay, so I think we're about ready to do a recording on this. We can do everything inside of this window, so I shouldn't need to worry about that. We have you up, so I have clap here. I don't think I need that up and running, but we need probably .env macro. And .env. Okay, so I think we're good to go there. The better Owen, hello, howdy. How's your day today? We are about to get ready with the recording. The stream is going well. So we just finished writing the environment variable lesson. So now we're going to record a video for it. Which should be pretty simple. We're going to go over why we want to keep sensitive data out of the code, why environment variables are a great way to expose sensitive data, using .env to load environment variables from a file, loading environment variables at compile time, and loading environment variables at runtime. Okay, so that's the plan, to go through all of those. All right, so let's see what we can do here. Yeah, so as normal, if you've never seen me do one of these recordings before, I kind of pretend that we don't have, that we're not on Twitch. I am going to turn off the alerts. Cat cam's not off, and not on anyways. Desktop audio is off, so it's just going to be the main desktop, my mic, and me. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, go ahead and put them in chat. I will read them. I will try to incorporate them into the recording if it's contextually makes sense to do so. Otherwise, I'll get to them right afterwards. This should be fairly short, probably like 5 to 10 minutes. I don't think I'm gonna talk that much about like environment variables, just sort of like mention and sort of go through them. So let's maybe add in okay, let's try this. We're just gonna go through them and talk about it. So here we go. Starting now. Hello, and welcome to a lesson on using environment variables in Rust. But before we get into like specifically how to do environment variables, let's talk first about why do we want environment variables? Well, it's all about storing sensitive data in our code, and specifically that we probably shouldn't. So, well, why shouldn't we? Well, there's a couple different reasons. First of all, if we are connecting to something like a database, we don't only ever want a like production database. What if while we're developing something, we want to just sort of quickly wipe the database, seed it with something, play around with it? Yeah, that's not good. Wipe it again, seed it. If we do that to production, we'll lose all of our customer data. That's not a good idea. So we want probably at least 2 different databases, possibly even 3 or more. Well, our code is going to have to handle that. So, well, sometimes we might feel that to put in like, what if we have like 3 different database lines in there? We can detect what environment that we're in, use like an if statement to sort of like choose between them, or like comment out which variable we're using to the database. But again, that's not a good idea because it relies upon us doing the right thing as developers, which is like not forgetting to comment out the production one and put in the local one. Or the other thing is that we've just hard coded a password essentially to customer data in our code. And even if you put that onto GitHub, that's a private repo. Even if it's not even GitHub, even if it's your own self-hosted Git repository that's on your own VPS or even just your own computer, you have to assume that eventually somebody else is going to get access to that probably shouldn't. And if they get that and they get that data, it's all over. So let's just not have any kind of hard-coded secrets in our code, and just we'll be safer and be much happier all for that. But if we're not going to hard code the data, how do we get access to it? Well, environment variables is the way. And there's a couple different ways that we could do this. We could just manually create an environment variable in the terminal here, and then we can have access to it for the instance we run it. But we have to just do that every single time. We can add it to our shell startup, like RC file. But again, I really don't like to do that. I like to actually share that RC file in the internet in GitHub and track it that way, which again, I don't want to have sensitive data in there. Plus each project might have a different database. Again, how do I know which one to use? So I like the final option, which is use a .env file. And this file is going to be unique per project. So let's go ahead and sort of create it here. Here I am in this environment variables lesson. We're going to have a .env. I'm going to touch .env, and it's going to show up right here. And the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up .getignore. I'm going to add that in there because we absolutely do not want to accidentally send the .env file up, because like all that talk about not accidentally hard coding it so it doesn't get into GitHub, that all goes away if we accidentally expose our .env file. All right. So that's one. Now, what does the contents of this file look like? Well, it's going to be key value pair. And it's going to be similar to what we put into the shell if we're manually creating them, but we're not including the export command. So if we want something like, it'll be key equals value. So in the case of maybe something that's not so sensitive, like the environment that we're in, that could be just like env equals dev in this specific case. For something a little bit more sensitive, we might have a Postgres connection string. So we might have some like a database URL, and we're going to set that to Postgres : // We're going to imagine that we have like a local Postgres database running on Docker, and we want to connect to that when we're developing locally. So that's going to be username would be Postgres. Let's just say our keyboard cat for my password at localhost. That's the port I have it set up on, and the database is just Postgres. Okay, so we have our database, we have our .env file set up. How do we get access to this? Because it's just in the .env, and I don't want to have to remember to source this file, plus it won't work without the export in it. So we're going to use a crate to do that for us. And there is one called .envy. Please note that Y at the end, because that's really important. There is a .env crate out there, but it hasn't been updated in years. This one's been updated much more recently. Even 7 months is, you know, this doesn't need to change that often. It has a lot of updates. It has good things that have happened from the .env crate, and there's active maintainers just in case. So we're going to go ahead and add that in. So I'm going to do a cargo add .mv. For these features, we don't need any of those. I've actually never needed these features in any of the projects that I'm working on. Rust Analyzer, as of October 2023, doesn't will actually tell you if you need a feature to run a function. So we don't even have to worry about it at all. It will just tell us if we need it. All right, let's jump into our main.rs and get access to those environment variables. So let's go ahead and get rid of this print line. To get access to it, we're going to run the .env function off of .env. Now it's called .env because .env is meant to be a drop-in replacement for .env. So if you had it previously, you can just replace it with the newly updated .env, and everything should just work exactly the same. We're going to do .env. Now this returns a result, and we want to handle this. So I could unwrap it, I could expect it, or I could convert it into an option, and then it will just, it will just always be okay, or a none in this case. Now, which one you want to do depends upon your use case. If you are writing your code and you have to have a .env crate, even on deployment, then you're probably going to want to unwrap it because you really need, or expect it, because you really want to make sure that it crashes if it doesn't have those environment variables. In this case, I'm just going to convert it to an option, and then we're just going to sort of let it go, and everything's going to be okay. So at this point in time in our code, after this line, our environment variables in that .env are available to us. And I can access them using the normal methods that would normally get access to an environment variable. In this case, standard env var. So let's go ahead and get that, the database URL. So we'll do database URL equals standard env var. We want that database URL. I like to do an expect here and then just give a little bit of message, say, okay, we're missing environment variable database URL. And then now we have access to our database URL as a string. Okay, this is going to happen at runtime. So our .env file in this specific case either needs to be present, or the system that we're deploying on needs to have it exposed as a .env. Oh, sorry, not a .env, as an environment variable. So like, for example, if you're deploying in like a Docker image, you can configure that Docker image to have that environment variable in there. There are systems for like, AWS, on Heroku, on pretty much like on Shuttle, any of the modern cloud-based deployments, there's a way to set environment variables for your production environment. So this is runtime. What if you want the environment variable available to you in compile time? So in that case, we're going to use a macro that the .env crate, .env crate has available to us. Now, unfortunately, it's not in that crate itself. There's another crate that we can use, and that is called .envy macro. So let's go ahead and add that. All right, so this one doesn't have any features. It adds in there, Rust Analyzer does its thing. So let's go ahead and now grab our env environment out. And we're going to use env macro .env bang. So, and then we just grab the env from it. Now, because this is coming in as a macro, if I didn't have that environment variable in the .env file, Rust Analyzer would actually error out for me. So that's really nice. It would tell me, hey, you're missing this. It's going to be a problem. It's going to cause your code to crash. So therefore, you should probably add that in there. However, there is also another consideration for this. Because it's at compile time, the contents of this environment variable are now going to be enshrined inside the binary for all time. So it's just there. It's not like it needs to grab it in later on. So if I actually ran the database URL as the .env macro, then the actual full URL, including that password, would be in the binary. And normally you might think, okay, that's okay because like, oh, it's a binary, right? Like nobody can inspect the binary. But of course, people are ingenious, and it is very possible to decompile binaries, look through the resulting mess, and find secrets in it. In fact, that's been done in the past, and it's decently easy to get secrets out of that. And then, well, people would have access to your database. So please don't use the macro for secret stuff. Use it for things like this, like the environment, because who cares about that? It's just letting us know which one for us to use. Okay, so let's go ahead and debug these out. We have our database URL and our env. So if I save you and we'll run you, there we see, okay, there's our database URL and there's our env. And that's it. This is how we can now get secrets, add them into our code, so that way we can have access to them, but not, add them into the code, if you know what I mean. And now this is going to be used everywhere, because most programs, we need some kind of secret access to something to really do something important. Hopefully this is helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye. All right. All done. Oh, I forgot. Hold on. Let's stitch this in here. I wonder if I can do I'll do a cut before the end thing and put in something about the .env example. Sometimes when we want to onboard new developers, it can be helpful to leave them some kind of hint for what environment variables to set up for their application. Because we have that .env in the get_ignore, it's going to be impossible for them to really know what they need, except by looking into the code and maybe doing like a search for everything, looking for, standard env var, but like, what if we have some macros in here? It's not all exactly the same, looking for whatever they need. So what I recommend is we create a .env example. So that's let's touch let's copy .env to .env example. This is going to be pushed up into GitHub, which means we're going to come in here and, okay, key value is going to be okay. env dev, I actually want everybody to start with dev, so that's okay. But this one I want to change up a little bit. So we're going to update you, so you have your like username, you're going to be password. So these aren't like the real values, right? This would be host name. This would be port and database. And then that way, anybody who grabs this repo and pulls down knows, okay, so this one can probably stay the same. This one, they don't necessarily know what to do with it. And database URL, they know they have to change this because this obviously doesn't make any sense. They're going to have to like spin up their own database and set it up against that. Okay, and that's it. Okay, we should be good now. I'll probably remove that. That's it, and then that way I'll cut them and put them in there, and it'll all be good. So, that being said, let's push this all up. What, you don't know how to do, or oh, because I don't have a repo, so I have to create a repo. Well, let's not even do this here. Let's why am I in VS Code? Let's go back to Alacrity. All right, environment variables lesson. So we'll do that. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to do get repo create existing dot. This is going to be environment variables Rust lesson, just in case I do one for like something else. That'll go into Brooks builds description. Okay, so this is lesson code example for environment variables in Rust. Sure, we'll make that public. Add remote origin, yes. So that all gets pushed up. That's good. That's a cool error. I will need to tell people about that. But that's not my problem today. That's a tomorrow problem. Okay, environment variables Rust lesson. So this, I'm gonna copy you, and we're gonna put this into the article. So let's where should I put this? We could put it at the code. Okay, so here's the full code from above. And I can put like you can see the code in GitHub at that. Okay. And let's also have a video. All right. I could just put this up without the video right now to the LMS, which may be what we want to do, because I might want to do the next thing that I want to work on is probably to edit an article online, because right now I don't have the ability to do that, and it kind of sucks. So I think that's going to be the next thing. Well, I need two things. I need the ability to mark if it's a, yeah, okay. So maybe I'll hold off on this. I need to wait until tomorrow anyways before I deploy the video, because it's well, minimum tomorrow, because the Twitch things, reasons. Contract reasons. And I don't think so. I have a as part of an affiliate with Twitch, I'm not allowed to like push up my live streams to YouTube until 24 hours afterwards. They mentioned during TwitchCon that there's going to be the ability to multi-stream for everyone to YouTube or other places. I looked at the contract the other day, and they haven't updated that to actually say that I can do that. So I am eagerly awaiting for them to follow what they're saying with the actual policy change. Because like when that happens, I think I probably will experiment with that a little bit. I've never done multicasting, multi-streaming, restreaming. I've never done that before. It'll be interesting to play around with it. But okay, so let's see. This is going to be good for right now. So I'm going to move this from 4 uploading, and we'll wait for that to go in. And so then that leaves us to start working on the next thing. And our next thing, okay, so I got my database up and running. Let's get YCL up and running. Most of the big tech streamers are multi-streaming, and Twitch hasn't done anything. They know they can't lose users. They've been losing a lot of streamers. So yeah, they can't afford to, but they should like get on top of that. Prime, Theo, Sim, Griffin, CJ, they're all doing it. Yeah, they all started doing it before they even announced that. So this to me this is like it's a policy change to align with reality, as opposed to like well, then also like just try to get some goodwill from it at the same time, right? It's like, okay, people are doing it anyways. Let's go ahead and make it like, let's allow it officially, which will make us look good. But it's not like we could stop them anyways, because if we did, we would get like, it's just going to be worse for us. There's no winning for them. So they might as well go along with it. It would be nice if they actually put it into print, like into the actual contract. Especially after they said they were going to do that. That and YouTube has really caught up on live streams, so most users are willing to make the full switch. That's the other thing. CJ mentioned in Discord that there's like, you get less users or less viewers watching live on YouTube for programming streams, but because it counts all the viewers who came in and watched, the VOD does much better afterwards. So like right now I'm getting anywhere from like 45 or so views. Like I would potentially get more of those because it would like be shared out. It'd be like considered more popular the second that it went live. YouTube with the ability to scroll back during the live stream is amazing. That is true. I don't understand why, like, Amazon has an entire live stream video department. You would think that they could like have the teams like work together, or like give some of their technical know-how, or there should be like shared libraries or something else they can use. My concern is that like Twitch probably has a lot of incompatibilities with the way that like the rest of Amazon Video is doing things, and therefore it's not quite as easy for them to switch over, and they don't want to have to do a full rewrite. Okay, so let's see, what are we gonna do? This is gonna be our LMS. All right, so let's take a look at what we want to do. So I want to be an author for this. I want to be able to, in this case, what's more important to me right now is the ability, and I got hit with this, and Unreal let me know. It's like, oh hey, by the way, all of your articles were like open, and it's like, oh, that's fun. So what happens right now is as soon as I hit save, in a single transaction in the database, it deletes all of the items in the course articles join table and then recreates them, which is pretty fast because it's all in one transaction. The problem is that I have a little tiny bit of metadata in there, which is the preview binary, the preview boolean, which lets me know per course, is this article a preview or not? And of course, the default for is true. It is preview. Regardless if I set that to be false is preview or not, it's kind of a pain because I would like to make sure that it retains the previous setting for it, so I don't have to go in every single time to the database and recheck the booleans and then have to do it again every time I add an article or reorder the articles. So that is what this feature is going to be all about. So let's go ahead and create a new branch for this. So I want, let's create here. What is this? This is the ability to set article, course article preview. Hero Dev, rating with a party of 45. Welcome, 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 Hero Dev. Also, that reminds me to turn the alerts back on. So that more than I can just hear that. How was your stream, Hero? And everybody else, how are you all doing today? Hopefully you're not all caught in advertisement, or hopefully my Twitch chat didn't crash. But what we're working on a LMS that's going to hold Rust courses. I have a brand new feature I'm going to start working on, which is to enable me to mark which of these course articles is preview or not. So if you come in not logged in or you don't own the course, you can sort of like see the article and read through it and sort of like determine like, oh, hey, I like this course or not. Sort of get a feel for the course. Right now, when I save, everything gets marked as preview true, which is not conducive to encouraging a sale because you don't need to buy anything. It just is live, unless I remember to go manually turn them back all to false. So that the GUI part of that is now what we're going to work on. So I have a bunch of tests here. Let's go ahead and run these all, make sure they're all working. And once we verify that these tests are working, which I have 2 failures, but I don't know if they're really failures or if they're just the same sort of like weird timing issues we've had that I've not been working on fixing. I just usually rerun the tests, and if they rerun again like a second time, I think it's okay. And it's not a real problem. It's just a test, like a flaky test when running in parallel with the other test problem, which is still a problem, but it's not the problem we're going to work on now. All right, so what are we going to work on? I want, this is going to be in, not course, it's going to be in course articles for an author. I can add an article to a course, remove an article from a course. I probably want to somewhere in here, put it in there where it's like an article, like a mark an article as preview or not. This is in a course article spec. Okay, so add an article to a course. So I definitely want author. So I kind of wish that these were in order, because they put all the describes together and then they put all these. And I would rather them like be, okay, we have describe author and then the things that are in author. That would be really nice. So I probably want, okay, so we have author, add an article to a course, remove an article from a course, and then that's it. So let's add another one. Test, this is going to be mark article as, so there's probably a few things I want to do. Like when I first add something in, I want it to be preview by default. So I want to see, let's see, newly created, like articles. Okay, so like so article, so okay, what's my naming convention for this? Just author. Okay, so author. So articles have our preview by default. Wait, is that? Okay, it is like that. Oh, and then I get a page. Well, that's, wait. Is that right? That is right. Okay, so I have that. This is a little bit weird. I want that. There we go. Okay. Dota, hello. How are you doing today? If that Twitch changed its terms so you're allowed to stream on multiple platforms now. So let me see. So the other day, right after the announcement, I went into the contracts section and looked for it and couldn't find it. Or rather, I found the contract section still explicitly said that I'm not allowed to multi-stream as a affiliate, which to me means that they haven't updated the contract yet. They've just announced that they're going to. view the affiliate agreement. Let me see if I could find it really quickly. So we have the terms of service. I think it's somewhere in here. Oh, there's so many different places. There's the events, predictions, photosensitive seizure warning. Oh, did they remove it now? Usually they like send an email out when they've removed it. Okay, content programming. Okay, this is the one I read through and they didn't, it's not in this like specific one. So there's simulcasting. Okay. Simulcasting. When you are streaming live on the Twitch services, you may not simultaneously live stream or broadcast on any other Twitch-like service. So they have not updated the contract yet. I think that, no, I don't think it's different for partners. I think that it's Twitch being Twitch and announce something and haven't actually done anything, like didn't do the work for it, which is not professional in my opinion. Like if you're going to, as a company, announce something, it should be like that day, or you should give a time, like on this day we're going to update the agreements. That way it's now like legal to do. Like just announcing that but not updating the legality of it. I'm not a lawyer and I don't want to pay a lawyer to like ask for this. What I would bet a lawyer would tell me is that it doesn't matter what they say at an announcement, the contract is what's legally binding. And that sucks. But it's also like, it's also like, you know, contracts. So I don't know. Maybe we can just put enough pressure on them to say like, hey, come on, you said it. Update the contracts. Beats you, you're a developer. Me too, right? So as soon as that does work though, as soon as that contract is up there, I am playing around with that, definitely. Someone showed you the proxy pattern today. How do you like it? I looked at my 30-year-old book to figure out what the proxy pattern is. I would probably have to look in my book too, to like remind myself exactly what the proxy pattern is. And then think of like, where have I implemented this either by accident or on purpose, then forgot. It can be used to stand in an object while the expensive object loads. So my opinion on a lot of the patterns, which I know is fairly controversial, which is that most of them are no longer relevant. I think there's a handful that are really good, that are like excellent, but a lot of them are no longer relevant. We have like modern systems, and especially in like JavaScript or front end, there's different patterns that we need. Database stuff is slow, but oftentimes we're doing things. There's ways to like load stuff and just like in like in a secondary way. Like we oftentimes don't want anything else to do something until it finishes, or like I guess we could use proxy pattern, but like JavaScript or front end often changes the way that works because we don't really need to implement it the classic OOP way, and so like the pattern changes. Have you seen the skeleton pattern? if you like load up LinkedIn or Facebook or like something else big, I think Twitter does it. Twitter does it too. It shows you these like bars where data would be, and sort of shows you like an outline. It's called a skeleton. And so like the design pattern from like, you know, UX UI design, that's what it's called, the skeleton. So that's like that's where you would do it with, but you don't really need like a full pattern to do that. It's fairly trivial to do without like a big OP thing, I guess there. But who likes front end? Yeah, nobody likes front end. Who needs to interface with things? They're going to use our CLI and they're going to like it. Also, classes in JavaScript in the land of no tests. Exactly, we don't test front end stuff. I say with actual front end testing code open. There's probably a framework for that. I mean, I am using Playwright, which is a testing framework for front end stuff, but like I don't necessarily do a lot of unit testing in front end. I do a lot of end-to-end testing for it though. And then of course I'm doing a lot of Rust for front end, which is the compiler gives me a lot of like, there's some testing there. It's not classic test. It's not like a classic unit test. There's another controversial opinion for testing, for like test-driven development, which is not all tests need to be automated for test-driven development. Sometimes you could just have an idea of like how it works in mind when you develop it. Sometimes. So it's that's a fairly controversial idea, and I sometimes follow that. Usually I want some kind of actual test. Ooh, Chantilly. Wait, did you find... Okay, you found a Twitter message. Is it about this thing? Oh, okay. We've announced that you can simulcast on any live streaming service. Check out our new guidelines and FAQ here. Okay. Simulcasting guidelines. In line with the coming change to a terms of service, we're now allowing you to simulcast on any service. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, feel good, feel good. We also want to ensure that the Twitch user experience is not compromised. Okay, so you ensure that the quality of Twitch user experience in your simulcast is at minimum no less than experience on other platforms or services. So I can't like make it a worse experience to be on Twitch than YouTube. So what's an example of a degraded experience on Twitch? So, I mean, I suppose what I can do is I could write a bot to just flood chat on Twitch with just random stuff just to make it impossible to use. Oh, do they have an example? What is an example of degraded experience on Twitch? For example, shrinking the size of or otherwise degrading the video quality on Twitch so it's worse than other platforms. Oh, okay. I was actually thinking of like hurting you in some way, but I guess that makes sense. I have not looked at CJ's stream on Twitch because I watch it on YouTube. So, you should not provide links or otherwise direct your computer to leave Twitch for your simulcast on other services because we value... Okay, so I can't tell you on Twitch to go to YouTube to watch it. Okay. You do not use third-party services that combine activity from other platforms or services on your Twitch stream during your simulcast, such as merging chat or other... Okay, so can't merge chat together, so you have to chat on Twitch. Oh, he cuts the video out and tells people to go watch on YouTube. Oh, okay, yeah. So they will send you a warning before taking action. That's what they claim. He isn't a timer. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to follow the rules. I'm like that. I tend to follow the rules even if I don't like them, then I do that. Do these guidelines apply to all streamers? Yes, unless you have an agreement with Twitch that requires exclusivity. What does that mean? Because the agreement that I have for simulcasting with affiliate allows, like, it does specifically say you're not allowed to do that. So this is now like separate from each other. However, they will send me a warning, so therefore I guess we just go. Oh, you guessed this for very big streamers that did the $1 million contracts. Okay, well, Twitch, if you would like me to not stream on YouTube or anywhere else, I would gladly take $1 million contracts. Exactly. I will take millions of dollars to stay on Twitch. So if anybody is watching who has like that permission to like just like cut me that contract, you know, my DMs are open. Okay, let's see. Can I still link to third-party websites, including sites I'm simulcasting on my about section? Yes. Okay, so I can still say, hey, go watch me on YouTube in the about, which is literally, if you're on PC, below the stream. So that's cool. Can I use third-party tools that combine activity from other platforms or services such as chat if I am just using it from a personal usage? I could probably, you know what I could probably do? I could probably take YouTube chat and bring it over into Twitch chat. I could probably do that, but I don't know if anybody cares about that. Like, it's fairly easy for me to pull up like a YouTube view and a Twitch view like over and aside and like put them both next to each other. How do I designate my stream as simulcasting in the Twitch interface? You are not required. Okay, cool. However, they're going to add this functionality and then require it. And if you left because you were terminated or left because you wanted to simulcast, you are now re-allowed to join as partner. That's actually really nice. So basically this means, so previously, I almost felt like there was not really a big reason to become partner. This now like allows partner back again because now you can also make money in other services too. Restream is pretty much the default multi-stream platform. Yeah, it's the one I've heard of. So Restream has a bot that will copy and paste YouTube chat into Twitch chat. Oh, cool. So I might take a look at that. So maybe this weekend I will just like play around with it a little bit, so like install it. Maybe next week we'll try some multi-streams. See how it is. Maybe tomorrow, who knows? Okay. Dodie, you plan on learning C. How long does that take? Speaking of what to do on the weekend, well, how long did it take you to learn A and B? So more seriously, I mean, C as a full is like a pretty, like, it could do a lot of things. It's not considered the easiest language to learn. How deep do you want to go? So give it a few weekends, like at least 2 weekends. How about that? At least 2 weekends. And it might go a little bit more, but it also depends what you want to do. If you want to just write like a very basic like CLI app that allows you to take in data, do something to it, and like just print it out again, you can probably do that in a weekend. But if you want to get more into like memory management and, you know, be productive in some more GUI type things or more advanced stuff, that's probably going to be a little bit more. Your eventual plan is to TDD garbage collection. That's going to take you a little bit more because, well, yeah, that's going to take you a little bit longer. C isn't that hard to learn. Now, learning every foot gun in the world is a lifetime. And how to avoid shooting yourself in the foot, but rather shooting the memory that you created so that it goes away, that's the key. So just the garbage collection section of a toy C compiler. Okay, so you basically just want to create a garbage collector runtime for your code. Like, I mean, that's malloc and dealloc. Again, I think it's going to be like how advanced. Excuse me, how advanced are you getting with your allocators? The amount of times you've seen use out free in the Discord makes me glad that was in Rust. Yeah. I guess like the thing is that like for simple ones, like, oh, okay, I want to create like this variable. Let's like, you know, let's allocate and then deallocate. But like generally speaking, you don't need to manually do that yourself. So like it probably won't take you that long unless you're trying to do like also like write a game or something like that and then do the memory management for that, like for a more complex application. So that's my guess. But a little bit hard to tell. There's a lot of what ifs there. All right, cool. So let's get back to this. Let's work on this this thing here. Okay, so articles are previewed by default. So what I want to do here, I probably want to do my intercept. So I want to do the same thing we have up here. So I want to intercept. I want to log in as an author. I want to get by test. Okay, so page get by test ID. Let's do these two first. Let's not paste them all right there. No, not right there. Let's go down. And let's also set you to auto rerun these tests every time I hit save. Cool. That's lovely. Okay, so here I am. I am at the right place. So what I would like to see is maybe like a check mark. Like what do I want to do? These are buttons right now. It might be nice to have like a checkbox next to each of them to show if it's preview or not. So do I want this to be like a table? That would be like a pretty big change. But that's probably what I want to do. I probably want this to be an actual table, like a data table, and have name is preview. So let's talking about like test-driven development, like not necessarily writing like the full test for this, but I have a test in mind, which is I want to be able to C, let's do like C first, the preview, and I want to make sure that these are whatever they're set to be. So in course articles for course article 8, which was I think this one, these are both previews, so I want them to be checked preview. TDD is a unit test thing, I think, sort of separate from Playwright stuff. I mean, TDD is more of a philosophy and like a way to do stuff. It's like just you write a test. It can be a unit test. It could be like write the manual test down you're going to do, write the end-to-end test you're going to do, like figure something out and then write the code and then do it. It's like you can get the red, green, red. You can get the green, red, green. Red, green, red. You can get one of those two. You can get that using any method, not just unit tests. You can also do red, green, refactor. That's what it is. I was thinking like, for some reason I went like red, green, red, which is, that's like, that doesn't make any sense. There is something called double loop testing. It's red, green, green. Ah, okay, red, green, green. There's something called double loop testing where you write, like the first one in TDD would be write the full, like that would be the one I'm doing, right? The end-to-end Playwright test. And then that's the outer loop. And then I zoom into the inner loop and I write unit tests and I do TDD on unit test, unit test, unit test, unit test. Okay, we're all done. Zoom back out again. And then the outer test should now work again. I don't do that probably nearly as often as I should. Yeah, I've heard of bottom up versus top down for whether or not you write the end-to-end stuff first or last. The end result is that you have tests. Like that's obviously a like an important thing. And I've heard a lot of different like ways to make sure you have them and to make sure that your code is like in a good way to get it done. And it's pretty well researched now that writing a test first makes sure that your code is in a testable state, whether that's end-to-end tests or unit tests or both. I do have I've never really been happy with like tests that spin up like the like a front-end framework's like sort of system and then runs it and like checks the HTML output or something like that. So I don't often do those type of tests because like I don't know, like I don't feel the value from that. Or maybe I feel it's too much work for the value I get out of it. Maybe that's what it is. But okay, so we have a Playwright type thing, but I don't look at the code base on that level. Ah, okay. So let's see. I want you need to be a data table. Do I even have a data table? Let's find out. I have tables. Okay, yeah, I do have a data table here. So I want a data table, and then this would be, okay, so we have like, this would be the course name, and that would be this. Do I really want it to be a data table? I probably do. Okay. So that being said, this would be in the course articles page. Here's our assigned. So this is a button list. So I want basically for each button list, I want to have like a little check mark next to it, which means that I want it not to be a button list. I want it to be a data table here instead, which means we're going to have to re-implement our draggable stuff for that. That's going to be fun. So what do I have here? I have stuff like that. Do I have a BB table? I don't have a table. A data table? Okay, let's go find out what we have in here. Okay, so we do have a BB table here. Okay, so it's in elements, BB table. And it takes in titles and values. Let's see. Clicks the buttons. Yeah, there's a couple layers in front of that does simpler inputs. I componentized the site. Yes, I did. So one of the things I've learned over the years, just make components. Just make reusable components, even if you're not going to reuse them. Like just make them in a reusable style as much as you can, because it's just gonna make your life easier later. And you tend to write them less tightly connected when you write them. So I actually wrote this as like a separate crate, which I pull from GitHub in order to like make sure that I don't put anything LMS specific inside of here, or at least I try to. Okay, so here I have this table. Always nice to future you, because future you always hates past you, and past me always hates future me. Like, or past me hates more past me, or something like that. There's a lot of hate going on. But sometimes it's like, oh, hey, I thought about things. I made my life easier. And that's sometimes nice. It's a nice gift to myself. Okay, so we have our table. This is a very simple table where we have table rows and table heads. And so this is going to make it interesting if I ever want to do any kind of like drag and drop up and down like we have in the other system. But I don't know of a better way to do it other than a data table. And I think it just makes sense to do it as a data table and just bite the bullet and do it that way. So that's what we're going to do. All right, what do you need? You're going to have values is just a simple hash map of attribute value. I'm a little bit worried we're going to have to break this out and like make an actual proper data table as opposed to just a table. Have any of you actually looked at like how a lot of the component libraries implement tables? It's pretty intense. I think how to include stuff like filtering titles are all interesting if they should be included. Yeah, they should usually be included in the table itself. And that's usually why like a table is often broken out into multiple components, where you have like a parent component, and then you have like the search component, the pagination component. You have all sorts of little, like, little other things, plus slots. And then if I want draggable stuff, so this is probably going to be a big new thing. So you know what? We are going to instead build this out in the YCL first. There's also libraries built around tables. Yeah, there are. Also, my watch just told me that it's getting close to end stream time, which gives me the ability to put this off until tomorrow, because that makes me feel better. Let's go ahead and create a new branch for this, so it lets me remind me what I'm doing tomorrow. I want to do. So this is going to be data. So I want a data table with drag and drop. That is going to be a thing. But it's going to be absolutely necessary too. You got the guy you're pairing with today to do pretty strict turns. Plus strong style pairing. Nice. Excellent. Which is a formal driver navigator. Yeah, that's really good. We retroed and he said he hated it. The first time that anybody does pair programming or like TDD or anything else that, I've never had anybody say they loved it. It's always like, oh, this is terrible. It's extra energy. We're slower. He liked pairing without it more. What's usually changed the mind of people that I've worked with in the past, where they like switch to, okay, let's do that. Let's actually write the test first. And it sometimes can take like a long time to get there. What usually does it is having the pair catch an error that you recognize would have taken a long time to fix or would have made it through and caused problems to users. Like when you see that, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it now. Okay, I got it. It can take a while because you don't want to force that situation. It has to be like, it naturally comes up where like one of you is going to, well, one of us, I guess, is going to like cause a problem. And then the other's going to catch it. And you're like, yeah, we got it. We fixed it. And that makes us feel good. We both feel good. And no code review because we reviewed it together at the same time live. We only tried it for a couple hours. I don't know whether we should try it again next time for a couple hours or do every second time or something. It's this is a change management thing. Like it's you got to read it and like you got to toe the line up into the point where it's like never again and like stop right before that. Yeah, read the room. It's easy. Just all you have to do is be an expert at reading the person, so that way you can tell when they're about to get really upset. And we call that leadership. That's one of the harder parts of leadership. It's like getting to know the team members and just like pushing them, even if they don't want to do it, right up into the edge, because we both know that it's going to be better for everyone involved, including them. It's gonna make everything better, but they don't know to do it. So like, okay, we're going to use our authority to make them do it, but we're also going to like try to make sure that it grows them and makes them better in some way, in some capacity. And that's the tough part, because that's what makes people not like us as leaders. That's also one of the reasons why leadership ends up being a lonely position and job. All right, the dark side. Okay, so I have this branch created here. We're gonna start working on data table. This is gonna be super, super, super important for us to have anyway. So, but it's gonna allow me to do multiple things, which is gonna be really good. Good to know the answer is unclear. The problem is, this is one of the reasons why management and leadership are not easy, is because there's no like good ways to do this. It's like we have to make sure that there's safety involved. We have to make sure that we can like read the room. It's a thing. It's a thing. But in the end, we get to watch our team members grow, get better, improve, and then eventually move on to bigger and better things. And that feeling is the best. All right. So as I mentioned, I am gonna head off for, well, it's time to end the stream for today. So I will be back tomorrow. I'll be online from, let's see, 7 a.m. Mountain Time till 8:30, and then again at 2:30 to 4:30. So around the same streaming schedule for today. We might try a restream. So maybe in the morning, I might try like installing. If I do have the chance to install the software and sure, like we can just do a chat test of it. Otherwise, I'll test it out Monday. So with that, I will see you all. Let's see. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. Bye.